Question on Biden,
Yeah,
Mr.
go ahead,
President.
please.
Another question
Thank
on
you,
Biden.
sir. On China, a moment ago you said that China, it's possible they could have chosen not to stop the spread of the virus. Are you insinuating they intentionally let it spread?
Well, they could have done it, and I'm just saying, well, one of two things happened. They either didn't do it, and, they couldn't do it from a competent standpoint, or they let it spread. And, I would say probably it got out of control. But, there's another case that how come they stopped all the planes and all of the traffic from going into China, but they didn't stop the planes and the traffic from coming into the United States and from coming into all over Europe. I mean, look at Italy. Look what happened to Italy. And it's very lucky. This country is very lucky, and I'm very lucky that I put the ban on China. As you know, very early on in January, we put the ban on in China, and that was a very early date. That wasn't a late date. That was an early date. Then we later put the ban on in Europe. And if we didn't do that, as Alex knows, we would have had a problem like you wouldn't have believed. We would have had a problem much bigger. But then you take a look at what happened to Italy. A lot of those people went to Italy instead. And it's been a very, very tough place, Italy.
And then on holding them accountable, is that something you prefer to do now in the next few weeks?
No, I don't want to do that. I want to find out what happened. I think we'll be able to get a very good, very powerful definition of exactly what happened. We're working on it strongly now, and I think it's going to be very powerful. But they could have stopped it. They are a very brilliant nation, scientifically and otherwise. It got loose, let's say, and they could have capped it. They could have stopped it, but they didn't. But they stopped planes from going to China, but they didn't stop them from going to the rest of the world. What was that all about, Jim?
Just to help us out on this, to follow up on Jordan's question, you praised China in the past, so what's changed? When you tweeted, China's been working very hard to contain the coronavirus. The U.S. greatly appreciates their efforts and transparency. It will all work out well. What has changed between then, when you were saying those things about China, and now?
Well, what's changed is the following. We did a trade deal, and everybody was very happy. There's nobody ever been tough on China like I've been tough on China. I got elected, at least partially, because of borders and military and different things. But one of the things I'd say is how China and other countries are ripping us off. So recently, we signed a trade deal with China a number of months ago. China's buying billions of dollars worth of our product, our farm product and other product, manufacturing product, and it's been a great deal. But then we noticed a virus, and it's not acceptable what happened. It came out of China, and it's not acceptable what happened. And now what we're doing, Jim, is we're finding out how it came out. Different forms. You've heard all different things. You've heard 3 or 4 different concepts as to how it came out. We should have the answer to that in the not-too-distant future, and that will determine a lot how I feel about China. But when I was very rough with China. I mean, Biden, as an example, the previous administration, they let China rip off this country like nobody's ever ripped off this country. Now, what I did is I took that,
Coronavirus.
Jim, I took that and I made it into a great deal for our country. But after that, all of a sudden we heard there's a virus and a virus is coming in. That changes my mind very greatly. That's a whole different thing. So you can have good trade deals. That was earlier on, the trade deal. I made the trade deal earlier on. And it's a great deal. We're taking in billions and billions of dollars of money in different forms, including the fact that we have a 25% tariff on $250 billion. It's a tremendous amount of money. Some of that money I've given to the farmers because they were targeted by China. And I gave $12 billion, I gave $16 billion, and this year we're going to be giving approximately $19 billion to the farmers. But,
President Xi misleading you?
well, something happened. I don't say misleading or not. I'll let you know that. I mean, I'll be able to give you that answer at some point in the hopefully not too distant future. But I will tell you, you take a look at what happened to this world. A month and a half, 2 months ago, we had the strongest economy in the history of the world, and all of a sudden I have to close the economy, I have to close the country. So we've had tremendous death and tremendous sorrow and sadness, and nobody's ever seen anything like it. And so have most of the countries of the world. Think of that, most of the countries. 184, you tell me, it's probably low right now, because I've been saying 184 countries. they've suffered tremendously. It's something that is going to have to be dealt with.